Talisay City to Sibonga motorbike trip. Hello and welcome to the Philippines. I'm taking a motorbike ride. I am headed from Cebu City, Cebu, the Philippines, to Moalboal over on the west side of Cebu Island. And it's going to take me about 5 hours. If a bus or the route, a lot of people take 3.5 hours, maybe 4 hours, depending upon traffic and construction. Loud motorbikes, they are out of control in Cebu City metropolitan area, in my opinion. Had other people say the same thing. Oftentimes I'm meeting with friends and we have to stop our conversation while the loud bikes go by. I was talking to a local in Moalboal, and he told me not allowed in Moalboal. They will confiscate the bike. I think Iloilo City is similar. Years ago when I was there, I read an article that the mayor they were issuing citations and confiscating those loud pipes. Anyway, interesting ride down along, this is all along the east side of Cebu Island. We'll get some sea views, certain places. I'll do another video going up over the mountains. And anyway, a lot of construction going on. A huge amount of construction going on. You will see some of that. I did not record the complete trip, all 5 hours of it. But there's a lot of places where the traffic is stopped. It's one-lane traffic. You got to wait for a while, or 4 lanes turns into 2 lanes, and they've got a couple lanes dug up. They're widening the road, and it was kind of like that over a year ago when I came down here. Went around the island. And I think 2 years ago it was kind of like that as well. Quite a bit of construction going on. So from what I have read, is that a lot of these things, these road construction projects get put on hold because the money dries up. And they'll do a section, and the contractor doesn't get money for a while. Waits until he gets some more money. Anyway, we've got a big, huge cement plant over here to the right. I think it's owned by CEMEX, CEMEX, and if I'm not mistaken, that is the same CEMEX. A Mexican billionaire has plants around the world, many in the U.S., in Mexico, different parts of the world. CEMEX. Someone will let me know in the comments if I am incorrect on that. The same name but different company. Anyway, the Philippines is a relatively small country. In fact, it is. In fact, I'll tell you a few things about the Philippines and the culture as we go on this drive. Philippines is about the size of the state of Arizona, or about the size of the state of Nevada, land-wise. It is a little bit smaller than the nation of Italy. Now, Arizona has about 7 million people. The Philippines, in about the same land area, has about 115 million people, last I read. So drop 100 million people or more into your state, your country, whatever, and you can just imagine what kind of issues you would have with lack of jobs, with poverty, all sorts of things that would go along with that huge population. Now, the average age of the population in the Philippines is actually one of the youngest in the world. I forget the numbers, but I think it's in the 30-year age, 30-something, I think is the average age, or what they call mean age, half above that, half below that. So a lot of people having babies. And you will find with that many people, something else happened several years ago. I've been here 8 years. I came in 2015, 3 different trips to the Philippines. And like so many places in the world, credit was very easy to get, and people were selling vehicles, motorbikes, cars. If you had a job and 1 peso down, something like that is what I was told, they would sell you a car. And so there are a lot of people with vehicles out here. One reason I don't drive the motorbike very often, traffic in the city is just crazy. They've got more and more traffic enforcers stand on the sides of different streets, and they'll pull different people over, check their registration, see if they have a license. But I think a big percentage, probably the majority of people, have never had any driver's training. May or may not be familiar with the basic rules of the road, and kind of anything goes. And if you've watched any of my videos in the past, you will understand what that means. Sharing the road is, literally, if there are 2 lanes, they'll make 3 or 4 lanes, and they will share generally. There's not too much road rage. There's some, but a lot less than in most states in America, for instance. The United States, a part of America anyway. I don't know about South America, Canada, Mexico, Central America. And you can see the construction going on. They've got the center torn up as they're widening the roads here, which is a good thing. But in a way, I would kind of wish that they would do a long stretch at a time instead of just doing these kind of piecemeal. I don't know, maybe I'm always thinking logistics. Why would that be? Possibly because there just aren't enough trucks and workers in any particular area, so they do it in different regions, different parts of the island, maybe spread it out. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of Filipinos do not drive that far regularly. One thing I noticed, the gas stations, petrol stations, they're not backed up with people getting fuel a lot of times. There may not be anybody there, or very few people getting fueled up at any given time, and I wondered about that. And I think it's basically because most people don't drive that far. They're driving in their own little region, their own little area. Where in the United States of America, and you might drive 20, 30, 40, 50 miles to work and back every day. So you're using up a lot more fuel, putting on a lot more miles, kilometers. If you don't want to drive, you can rent a motorbike here. Your foreign license is good for 90 days. Of course, if you're going to rent a scooter, you should have a motorcycle license. They may or may not check that. I was coming back. I was checked at a PNP, Philippine National Police stop, and they checked my license. I had all new register. I just really renewed the registration on the motorbike, so everything was legal. He checked my license and said, "Okay, go ahead. No big deal." But if you didn't have a proper license, they could confiscate your bike. That's not a good thing, especially if it's yours or if it's a rental bike. Renting a motorbike will vary in the area and the supply and demand. When we were in the north part of Bohol Island, in fact, it was real difficult to find a motorbike scooter for rent. In fact, somebody wanted, I think, $1,500 a day to rent it, whereas over here, a lot of places, $400 is probably average, but anywhere from $300 to $500 a day to rent a scooter. There again, depending upon the size, but generally they're pretty small. They're anywhere from 100cc, 125 is real common, 150, but rarely that you see them much bigger than that. Mine is a 250, and nice bike. It's got the power to get up and go, and Now, if you want to make a trip like this, there are always taxis that will quote you. If you want to go, lots of different sightseeing places down here. Oslob, the whale shark, swimming with the whale sharks is real popular in Oslob on the south end of, near the south end of Cebu Island. Got lots of different waterfalls. In fact, a lot of times they'll combine. Taxi driver will take you down for between 3,000 and 4,000, depending on the quote, and they'll include take you to a nearby waterfalls area. So yeah, 3,000 pesos, 50 pesos to the U.S. dollar, which is average over the years. It's like 56 today, I think, but 3,000 would be $60 for the day for a taxi. Can you imagine back in your country what it would cost to rent a taxi for a day? But yeah, there's mountains, there's caves, there's hiking trails. Osmeña Peak down here by Deleguete. I drove near there the other day. I didn't have time to go hiking, unfortunately. I need to hike that mountain one day. If you want to take a bus, you can get on any number of buses going south, and just so they tell them where you're going, so they know where to drop you off at. And I think it costs to go to Moalboal about 3.5-hour trip. I think this particular day, I think it was about 200 pesos, less than $4. For a 3 to 4 hour trip. Got a Gaisano Mall over to the right there, and as you go out these towns, a little bit larger town will have a Gaisano Mall. You will have Save-On grocery stores. You'll have hardware stores, lumber stores, auto parts stores if you need something along the way. I stopped at a number of motorbike places, and what I want, nobody had in stock, which was relatively simple. Was new signal lights on the back of my unit. I did end up finally finding one after, gosh, I must have talked to at least a dozen motorbike parts suppliers down in Cebu City, and finally found what I was looking for. Now I need to take them to a mechanic, and I could do the wiring, but I would rather let somebody else do that work. V-Hire vans are another way to go. V-Hire, van for hire, I guess. I think it stands for. And boy, they'll 12 to 15 passenger vans. They generally pack them in. I mean, you might almost be sitting on somebody's lap. And I would prefer a bus, and depends on the weather, air-conditioned bus, because there are non-air-conditioned buses, so be aware of that. But those vans, they may be a little bit faster. They tend to be more aggressive drivers. I had a couple of them pass me the other day, and man, I mean, just ridiculous. Where they pass, blind curves, and they force other people to slow down and wait for them. But it is what it is. If you're just going around more locally, not longer distances, these tricycles are real popular and relatively inexpensive. Hobble Hobble, a motorbike taxi. If you're not carrying luggage, maybe if you have a backpack, not too bad. What else? You can rent cars. I know there are a few places at the airport in Cebu, for instance, that have car rentals, and you can rent them with a driver, or you can drive it yourself. My big question, very important question, when I rent a vehicle, a motorbike, which I've rented I think 3 or 4 different times on different islands in the early years here, is if it breaks down, what happens? If it's going to break down, it's not my fault. It's not been maintained properly, whatever, for whatever reason, it breaks down, it won't start, something happens. You know, if it has a flat tire, of course, you know, I'll find somebody to fix the tire. That's not an issue. Another mall, I think Gaisano Mall on the left. But if it breaks down where it just won't go, and I often get unacceptable answers. For instance, one guy said, "Well, that's never happened before." It's never happened before. Here we are. I think this is the traffic circle in Carcar, very popular place for chicharron, which is pork rind, pork skin, cooked pork skin. And a year ago, this was under construction. I think 2 years ago it was under construction, and it is still under construction. I don't understand that, but it is what it is. I rented a motorbike on Bantayan Island, 3 years ago, right before the lockdowns, and the guy for a day, and we went around Bantayan Island, got up on the north end, and we did that in 1 day. I wish I would have taken 2 days and saw more of the sights, but it wouldn't start. Battery was dead. And fortunately, this motor scooter had a Kickstarter, not electric. It had electric, but also a Kickstarter, and I remembered that and was able to start it. We got back. Construction here, and but a lot of these scooters now, they're electric start. They don't have Kickstarters anymore. Even mine, if I don't drive it once every week and a half, 2 weeks at least, it will be difficult. In fact, the last one I went on this trip, you push start it. I'm in a garage. It's got another basement level. I rolled it down. I put it in second or third gear and rolled it down, popped the clutch, and it started. But a while back, I hadn't ridden it for a couple months, and it was much deader. I had to roll it down there like 3 different times before I was able to get it started. My opinion, in most cases, for most people, leave the driving to somebody else. You don't have to worry about accidents and anything else, the stressful part of driving, and it is. I think what I was saying a little earlier, one reason I don't drive more often, it's not like in many parts of the U.S. you just get on the freeway or even country roads, and there's very little traffic, and you can go and have a relatively relaxing drive. Here there is so much traffic and so many risks. I mean, you got people, you got bicycles and tricycles and pedestrians and at all different speeds, and not a lot of people not following any particular traffic rules, so you're not really sure what they're going to do. Do a U-turn in front of you is very common. So yeah, it's a bit stressful. So I don't just go jump on the bike to go for a ride, because the first hour or two getting out of town is the most stressful, the most traffic. Sunday it's not so bad usually, but even on a Sunday, traffic can be high in some areas. The weather during this trip, 4 days. 4 days, didn't get any rain. It was kind of like this, just a little bit of cloud cover, but temps weren't very bad, in my opinion. No rain when I got back. Now, yesterday in the middle afternoon, we had a short rain shower. Right now, about 1 in the afternoon, we've got a little rain shower coming through. In fact, I better shut my window. I've had my doors open all day. Nice breeze coming through. Very comfortable, probably about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 28, 29 centigrade. I think my average speed, even, you know, these videos makes it look like you're going a lot faster than you are. But even out on some of the straightaways, I think my top speed was maybe got up to 75 kilometers per hour, which would be 46 miles per hour. It feels like you're flying at 75 kilometers per hour. It really feels like you're going fast. But these roads, even where you got a straightaway, they're not that smooth. And some places, if you've ever been in a boat hitting the waves, almost feels like that. You're just, and you've got different potholes, you got different roughnesses, different material. Sometimes it's concrete, sometimes it's asphalt. But yeah, it feels like you're going a lot faster than you are. I think probably average, when you're not sitting in traffic like this, probably between 50 to 60, which maybe 30 to 40 miles per hour, something like that. So you're not making very good time. And you really need to be on the alert because, yeah, I've had guys, I think they were going to pull over to the right and stop, and then they do a U-turn right in front of me. They pull over to the right so that they can do a wide U-turn, and you don't know what they're going to do. You know, when I came here, my plan was to take one trip a month. That's what I budgeted. One trip someplace, you know, over to another island or something like that for a few days. And I budgeted between $100, 200 US dollars, you know, 5,000 to 10,000 pesos for that trip. Well, in reality, I've never done that. In reality, it's been more like probably every 3 months. Of course, the last 3 years, 2.5 years of lockdowns, really screwed all that up. Screwed it up for everybody. Screwed it up for the transportation industry, all those people that make money transporting people. Screwed it up for the airline industry. Screwed it up for the hospitality industry, the resorts. They all laid people off, early retired people. And even right now, the airlines, just read an article, the FAA, the Federal Aviation, I think they're still down over 40% of their employees. Airlines have early retired a lot of the pilots, so they're short of pilots different places in the world, as well as just, you know, important things like mechanics. You definitely want to have enough mechanics to fix those planes. So my observation, the various places I've stopped, the resorts, is that the economy is still really hurting. I mean, there are bargains to be had because of that, and I've had a number of people tell me, yeah, it's really slow. And this is the slow season. High season probably starts October, November. People from the northern climates in particular take their vacations. Where it's cold, they come to a warm place like the Philippines. And of course, it's just very recently that the Philippines has dropped their requirements, even though there are some travel sites that I think the Philippines has not advertised that very well, because there are, I've had a couple people send me links to sites that still say the Philippines requires vaccination and or antigen test to come in here, while the president declared the emergency over a couple weeks ago. So I think the government is not doing a very good job, the tourist department, the government, getting that information out to the world. So because of the low tourist levels presently, you can find some pretty good deals. Now, I will warn you, I booked through booking.com, and I don't think it's not their fault, but I booked a place online. Pretty good rate, $2,600 for 2 nights. And what was it called? Pescador Island is just off Moalboal, Cebu. Pescador View, I think, was the name. And saw the pictures, looked pretty nice, and got down there, and they gave me the key to this bare bones room, basically. And I said, no, this is not acceptable. In fact, the day I was traveling down, they sent me pictures. The resort sent me pictures. This definitely was not. Pictures they showed me had a little bit of an outdoor, what they call dirty kitchen, and some other things there in the room. And this definitely was not the room. So they brought me over to that room that they sent the pictures of, but still it wasn't the room that I booked online. Not the same thing. And so I still need to go on booking.com and put my comments up there. I was talking to when I was arguing about it with the office down there, there was a lady from Sweden who had been traveling around the Philippine Islands, and she told me later, yeah, they gave her a much worse room, bare bones room, than what she thought she was booking as well. So it turns out, I was told, and just by observing and talking to a couple other people in the area, that this resort, they act as a property manager, I guess, for some of the other cottages and resort owners, and so they don't have that many rooms themselves. In fact, I think they only had one room with its own bathroom, then they had 3 or 4 rooms with shared bathrooms. And so what they do, you book through them, and they put you in one of these other properties. Well, that's not what you're booking. So I didn't, because it had been a 5-hour trip. I was a little tired. I was hungry. I was thirsty, and I got busy doing other things and taking video. And I should have called booking.com right then and there and insist that they find me a better place for the similar price. The rain is over. Rain for maybe 10-15 minutes, and that's pretty common in my observation. Very rare that rains all day long. It happens a few times, but very rare. And so it'll rain 20, 30, 40 minutes during the rainy season, or even when it's not the rainy season. It can rain any time of the year, and then it stops. People put their umbrellas away and go about their business. Might rain again later in the day, in the evening, or not. It's usually not something that is going to end your activities very long, unless there's a major rain and flooding where you're at. And that's something to be aware of when you decide to settle down into an area. Flooding, other risks. On this trip, I end up driving almost exactly 3 hours from Cebu City down to Delegate before I took a break. And I should have taken a break earlier, but I was just busy driving. Didn't really think about it. Wasn't thirsty or hungry. But when I got there, I really appreciated stopping. I am lucky in that this little bit larger 250cc bike has a very relatively comfortable seat. The scooters I've rented, the 125 Hondas and Suzuki or Yamaha, and even riding on the back of these hobble motorbike taxis, they are so uncomfortable for me that, man, after 10-15 minutes of riding, it's like I need to stop and get off, because they're just uncomfortable seats. Now, maybe Filipinos have a different shaped butt than some of us Westerners. I don't know, but that wider, more cushy seat that I have really makes it much more comfortable riding. I know there are a lot of expats, a lot of foreigners that come to the Philippines, talk about living in the province. Now, every place is a province, technically, in the Philippines. But when somebody says the province, sir, go find a girl in the province, something that people have told me many times. They're not corrupted by the big city life yet. They're not materialistic. But when people say the province, generally it means outside of the bigger cities anyway. And so yeah, you can live a lot cheaper out here. I met a guy, I've met a couple people in Moalboal, which is a tourist town. You might think that things would be more expensive there, but they're, again, depending upon what you require. But there are guys that find a cottage, pretty basic cottage, a bed and a CR, comfort room, bathroom, shower, probably for less than 5,000 pesos, less than $100 a month, and long term, you know. And then you might go out, they might go out and buy their food. I don't know, they might cook a little bit at home, but probably go out to eat most of the time. You can find cheaper places if you want to downgrade your living standard. You can find that even in the big city, but much easier to find that out in the province, outside the city. And you can spend, you know, if you spend a lot less for your housing, you've got more money to spend on other things. And I had hoped to spend less on housing and more on travel. That was kind of my plan when I came here. It all takes, you know, travel takes three things in particular. It takes money, takes time, takes energy. At any given time, I may be lacking one or two of those things. So I know on my, you know, a year or so ago, I took a motorbike ride around Cebu Island, 5 days. And it could have easily been 6 or 7 days. But on the 5th day, I was on the south end, Sibonga, on the south end of Cebu Island. And I was tired. I had lost my motivation. And so I drove back 150 kilometers, you know, 100 miles, something like that. And I was tired, I was beat. And if I would have taken a day break, even young people who travel almost full time, they say, you know, you need to take a day or two a week and just relax, just catch up, get your energy back. Sibonga down here, up on the mountain a little ways, is a huge, very popular Catholic shrine and cathedral type place. Lots of, I've been there once, done a video there. A lot of things to see along the way. Anyway, see you next time.